So, welcome back to the shed. Today we're going to talk about some new scripts I've got for you. They are for comet stacking, AstroBBQ comet stacking scripts. The scripts they come in two parts, and the reason they come in two parts is because in the middle of the process we do have to go in and manually do one little process, but it's pretty straightforward. But it's one thing that has to be done manually because it's where we have to line up the comet in different images. We actually need to basically identify the areas that we want to align manually. But as I say, it's very straightforward. It will create a sort of composite finished image, which may or may not be okay with a little bit more processing. But also, as with a lot of the other scripts, it's going to produce two files, one with the stars on and one with the comet on. Now, the problem with stacking comets, comets are quite different to stacking other objects, other deep sky objects, in as much as the comet is always moving relative to the star background. So the problem is that you could either get an image where your stars are pin sharp, but your comet is going to be blurred, or vice versa, you could get an image where your comet is pin sharp, but your stars are going to be trailing. And this is one of the big problems with comet processing. So really, the way that we get around this is that out of every sub, we're going to remove the stars. We're then going to stack the comet separately. So we'll have one image, which is all the subs with just the comet. And then what we're going to do is from the original stack, we're going to extract the stars. We're going to have them separately. We're going to do a bit of processing on both. And then we're going to merge them back together so that you'll have pin sharp stars and a pin sharp comet. Hopefully. Well, that's the idea anyway. So without any further ado, let's go back to the desktop and take a look at how this is done. So comets then. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to just whiz straight through the comet scripts. I'm not going to sort of go into too much detail as I do it, because I just really want to cover the basic process. And then what I'll do is at the end of it, we'll go back and revisit all the different steps and also talk a bit about one or two of the issues that I've encountered with the whole stacking of comets. Particularly with relation to Altaz mounts. I think they are a little bit troublesome, but anyway, we will come back to that later. So I'm going to start off with an example of some Dwarf 2 data, and we'll see how that goes. As usual, I've got my Dwarf 2 data. This is Brian Gunsher very kindly provided this. So I've got my darks and my lights, yes, that's right. I'll open up Siril now. And I'm going to set my home directory to this. Let me see now. Where is it? It's in here. Brian Gunsher, that's the one. Okay. So step one is going to be to do a normal stack. So in this case, I'm going to do the stack lights darks relax script, which is suitable for Dwarf 2 data, and let's just run that. And that's that one. And the next, we come on to this new script, process comet part 1. And this one is going to take a while. I'll just start running it and then I'll explain. So the reason this is going to take quite a considerable amount of time is because it's going to run the StarNet process on every individual sub. For 200 subs I did, it took about an hour and 30 minutes, something like that. So it's going to take a while. So certainly get that going and go and do something else for a bit. That's what I would suggest. So that being said, I will come back to you when it's getting towards the end. Okay, so we're coming up near to the end now. I should be there in hopefully another few seconds. And there we go, and that gives you an idea actually. I think that was 79 subs, took 48 minutes. So there you have it. Okay, so the next part of the process is where we do have to do a little bit of manual processing in Siril. So unfortunately it's not something I can automate because it does require you to evaluate something with your eyes. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to change my directory to the process directory. So I've clicked on home, I click process, click open. The next thing I'm then going to do is I'm clicking this little left arrow up here at the top until I get to sequence. I'm going to click search sequences, and then I want to select the last one, which is stylus underscore pp underscore light. That's loaded that up. Then we're going to go to the registration tab. Now I'm going to just put this into auto stretch a minute. I'll just unlink it as well so it's a better color. The next thing I'm going to do is to just click this bottom right hand corner icon, which just shows me a list of all the files. And what I want to make sure of is that the first file is selected and that the box that says reference image is ticked. Having done that, I can close that now. Next thing I'm going to do is to just enlarge this Comet a little bit. So I'm going to hold down the control key and just use my mouse wheel just to zoom in a little bit. Then just left click and drag and draw a little box around the nucleus of the comet. Try and get it as central as possible, something like that. Then I'm going to come over to this registration panel, which should really be set up. The settings should be as they're shown here on the screen, which I think is probably going to be the default position anyway. But we want the 1, 2, 3 stars registration. And I'm going to click the first button, which is pick first star. And once I've done this, drawn this box, and that's it. It's drawn a nice circle, which again the nucleus of the comet should be in the center of that. And then I'm going to click this button that says go register. So that's it now, and that was very quick. I've now registered all 79 of these subs, and what that basically means is I've lined them up. And having registered them, I can now move back to the scripts. That's all the manual bit done. And we're going to go to the Process Comet Part 2. And we're going to run that. And off we go, and that will run. It shouldn't take too long. And we're just coming up to the end now, a few seconds, and we should be there hopefully. And there we have it. Now, we could of course just give this a little bit of a tweak. Perhaps use the GXS tool. I mean, if I pick a little sample point in the tail, we could just maybe try and enhance that a little further. I've certainly got a little bit more on the tail there, but you also bring up a little bit of the noise. It's kind of up to you really. One of the problems you will get is the incomplete removal. You can see here there are some very faint trails showing. They are some residual artifacts from the StarNet processes. I've tried many different ways of stacking this, and really that's about as good as I can get it. It is you know, it's slightly annoying, as you see, because you know, you're getting some nice detail when you stretch this far. That being said, of course, we can just crop this out. We don't need all that stuff, and we could just bring the symmetry point in a little bit just to lose them a bit more. But it is a problem, and as I say, I will try and explain this in a bit more detail in a minute. So that's one thing we could do anyway. We could just try and make some small adjustments, and that's obviously a pretty quick outcome. We could just maybe increase the saturation a bit if you wanted to try that. Again, you might start bringing out a bit of noise if you do that, but we'll try a little bit. There you are, it's just made it a little bit greener. Pretty nice, to be honest. And I say, if you crop that out, you'll get rid of most of the bad stuff. It's mainly field rotation, really, which, and in this case, it seems to be centered somewhere near the center of the screen. So most of the bad stuff seems to be off on this left-hand edge. Yeah, it's not actually that bad on this side. It seems to be more of a problem on the left-hand side. Anyway, there's that one. The other options you're going to have, I've got my two different files here. I've got my starless result, which is just the comet, so we could certainly do a bit of work on that. That's actually quite clean. And this actually might be a better way of doing it, because we might be able to avoid some of those stacking artifacts that we had in the fully composed image. So we'll go for the GHS tool again and maybe just see if we can develop this a little bit. We'll take a little sample point maybe around about there, and we'll just start putting a bit of a stretch on that, see what we can get. That's quite nice. Maybe pull in the symmetry point a bit. Local stretch intensity to try and increase the contrast slightly. I mean, that's quite nice. You don't want to push it too much, because as you can see, we're starting to get this noise creeping in, which, yeah, we're trying to avoid, really. What we might try is a little bit more saturation. Oh, hang on, just apply that, and then we'll try a bit more saturation. Just gently. I think that's enough. Perfect, just apply that. Yeah, this stuff here, as I say, I think you probably crop a lot of it out anyway, but as you can see, it's kind of rotating around up here somewhere by the looks of it. So that's the background. We'll just have a look a minute at the stars. I'm going to save that first. Don't forget to save it. I always forget to save. Now we're going to go for the star mass result. And see if there's any color in these. Maybe we can get a little bit of color out of them. So again, bring up the GHS, and we'll leave it on saturation. We already had it there. We'll just see if we can get a little saturation on this. It's probably looking, tell you what, I'm going to reset that a minute. I think I'm going to try and remove green noise on the stars. That's better, maybe. See what we can get now. So again, we'll try a bit of saturation on these stars, see what we can get. Just feel they're all a bit sort of yellow and orangey too much so maybe. Really, I'm going to try just to maybe push the blue up a little bit. Yeah, I think that's giving us a better balance, so I'm going to leave that at that. Now I might try again a little bit more saturation. Oh, thank you. A bit more saturation. Yeah, that's definitely given us a bit more. We've got a nice kind of balance now between some of the bluer stars, some more yellow stars. That's looking good. Next we're going to go to the star processing, star recomposition tool, and we're going to put the starless result in the left hand side, star mask result in the right hand side. Okay, I'm going to go for the advanced interface. Okay, so you might decide that these stars are a bit dim, so I just like to go to the JHT for this. I'll put a bit of a stretch on, yeah, maybe too much. So that's brightened them up a bit, that's also bloated them up a bit. So now if we bring the symmetry point in, symmetry point will start to dim them, or dim some of them back down. It's sort of reducing the number really. That's one thing you can do. You can also play with this one, which will, as you see, make difference as well. So it's just subtle really. So yes, say we went for that. I think that the Comet actually looks pretty good, so I'm going to leave that where it is. So just apply for both of those. Close that down. Of course, if you wanted to, you could now just do a little bit more to the whole thing. Yeah, and then we could just see how it, maybe bring it up. So we're starting to bring up a lot of noise here, but if we say we want to try and target this area, so we'll bring the symmetry point in, that's brought it in. Again, still a lot of noise there. Of course, you might decide to take it out of this program in this state and denoise it in some other program, so that you might not think that that's too much of a problem. If you don't want to do that, then obviously you can just reduce that a little bit and maybe increase that a little bit to get it back under control. And that's it, we just apply that. Really needs to be denoised externally. That's probably what I would do with it next. In fact, let's just do that. So we're going to save it as a TIFF, and I'm just going to put it back in the main folder. Call it final.tiff, and we'll save it to there. It's 16-bit. And we'll bring up affinity. There it is. And we'll get the filters going. Get noise exterminator on the job. Maybe not go too hard on it. Try about there. Yeah, that's better. While we've got it in here, we'll give it a little crop as well, I think. Apply that. And then we'll just send that back. Actually, PNG would be good. Export that back to there, final.png. Save that. And there you have it. Really nice comet image, pretty easily done. Obviously, if you've got other programs, you could maybe take the star mask out and do some other stuff with it. You might have something that would maybe tighten the stars up a bit, make them a bit nicer. So there's always stuff you can do, but you know, that at least gives you some. That's just a quick idea. Now, okay, so we've talked about you know, how to process. Just really need to discuss some of the issues that I've come across with this whole comet processing thing. And I think really most of the issues I'm going to discuss, they refer to mainly to smart scopes, but maybe to generally to alt-azimuth mounted telescopes. I feel that probably equatorially mounted scopes wouldn't have the problems I'm about to discuss, but in fact you can already see it's quite evident in this image by the way that the stars are smearing that there is a degree of field rotation in this image, and of course the field rotation also affects the comet. So what this effectively means is that even though we've aligned the nucleus of the comet, there's going to be some rotation of the tail. And of course, the more rotation you have, the more that is going to, I think, distort the actual shape of the tail. So what you're going to start doing effectively is to smear out some of the finer details in the tail. I guess what I'm saying here is it's better to keep your imaging sessions pretty short. I would say, you know, maybe this is the maximum number of subs I would probably personally attempt to do because of all this smearing. I mean, we must already have lost some detail in this tail because of that. There might be another way of doing this, and I haven't experimented with this yet. I think it's worth thinking about. And the other way might be to actually process this in several small batches. So even keep it down to, I don't know, 20 subs at a time, so that the amount of field rotation will be very small. And then possibly adding those substacks together. So kind of mega stacking idea. That needs to be thought about. I honestly am not sure. I haven't really dealt with what problems that might create, but something to think about. But anyway, that's one thing one of the things I've kind of noticed. And also, people who have watched other tutorials on this, they might have noticed that I did something a bit different to what they've probably seen, which is when I got to this registration step, I use this 1, 2, 3 stars registration method, which is really not technically correct. But What you should normally, you'll see in other tutorials, what they'd normally use would be the Comet Asteroid Registration method. So if I just go back to the sequence, so let's have a look at the sequence. Let's load this up again. Now, if we go to the registration method, we'll pick the Comet Asteroid Registration method. Now, the way that this would normally work is that you would effectively have a sequence, which we have here, of subs. And the sequence would be in chronological order. So what you'd normally do in that case would be that you would pick the first item in the sequence. You'd load that up. You draw your little box around it, like so, and you would input that as the first object. Then what you would do is you would go to the other end of the sequence. As you can see, the comet's moved a little, so you would then move your box. You want to get it in the center, obviously. We could make this a bit bigger actually, but you get the idea anyway. I'm not going to do it, so it doesn't matter. And then I'd pick that as my second object, and then I'd click the Go Register button, and that's how I would register them. Now, that with a guided equatorially mounted telescope is absolutely the correct way to do it. So that's the first thing. Anybody who's using data captured in that way should use this method I'm showing you now, and put number 1 as the reference image as well. Now, the problem with this idea is that this relies on the idea that the comet has moved in a single direction in a smooth way, so it is incrementally moved from one point to another point, and it's gone in a straight line. Now, when you look at things like the Dwarf 2 or the C-Star S50, or indeed telescopes that are dithering, they are not moving in a straight line. So I'm just going to just start moving through these subs. Actually, what I'll do is I'll just zoom in a little bit more, just so that we can see that a little more clearly as well. So I'm going to start moving through these subs, and we'll watch where this goes. But I'm just going to put the mouse pointer sort of on the center. Now, so it's off to the left at the moment. Now it's starting to drift down. Now where's it going? It's not off to the left anymore. And now it's coming back towards the center. So, as you can see, it's not smoothly moving from the beginning to the end of the sequence, or from A to B. It's all over the place. And because of that, I don't think the comet alignment method will work very well, because it is based on effectively interpolating the position of each of the subs between the first and the last frame in a straight line. Anyway, of course, there are no hard and fast rules about this, so really you could try either of these methods and see which one gave you the best result. It really is going to depend on the data. But hopefully anyway you've enjoyed this introduction to the new AstroBBQ comet stacking scripts. I hope you found it useful, and if you've got any questions then please drop them in the comments below. And I hope to see you again soon, so in the meantime, bye for now.